Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, Steeler Nation. I'm your host, Jim Stella, in studio with Jay Dash. You're listening to The Spread. We're going to talk some Steeler football. The Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the New England Patriots in, week 7, I believe it is, right?
Yeah.
7 and then a bye week. 3 straight games against AFC East opponents. You got the Bills, then the Dolphins, then the Patriots. Brady's back after week 4, so this will be game 3 for him. Will Jimmy Garoppolo play well enough to hold the job off from Brady?
Well, they start at the Cardinals. They have the Dolphins, Texans, and Bills after that without Brady. And then when Brady comes back, they start with the Browns, your team. So that's a loss right there for Brady, correct?
Yeah. That's right. Especially if it's in Cleveland.
And then they have the Bengals and Steelers. So this will actually be the third straight AFC North game for the New England Patriots.
Nice. In their face.
So there you go. Take that. They had no first-round pick this year.
Nope, because they're cheaters.
But they did take Cyrus Jones, cornerback, for their first pick in the draft.
Second round.
Second round. Yeah,
Right.
Their first pick, second round.
Yeah, sometimes
29.
they trade back, so you never know. Belichick could trade a second-round pick for 15 third-round picks. Dude's weird. This is going to be a really tough game for Pittsburgh. Even though it's in Pittsburgh, obviously Tom Brady has historically lit up the Steelers' defense. The Steelers' defense struggled in pass coverage last year. It was definitely the weak point. The front 7 improved. Now, we did have a lot of turnovers last year. We did keep the points per game down low, but the Steelers got beat on big plays a lot, way more than you can when you're trying to chase a Super Bowl. The Steelers have enough problems on their own. They can't be giving up these big plays. Can they neutralize Brady, and should they even rush this guy? I mean, Dash, we've seen it how many times. We try to blitz him. We try to get in his face. We try to hit him because when you do, he really does get flustered. I mean, for a great quarterback, he really cannot handle pressure at all when it actually is getting to him. But he gets the ball out of his hands so freaking fast, and then we can't tackle, and it's just killing us.
Yeah, and it really hurts when they have Gronk, a guy that's hard to tackle in the first place. And I think that's really who you got to look out for. He's the one that murdered him in game 1 last season. And Tom Brady, I mean, I don't think he'll beat the Steelers with Edelman, and they have this Malcolm Mitchell, who they say they're going to be their number 2 wide receiver out there. But they do have a lot of targets. They brought over Martellus Bennett as well for another big tight end for Brady to throw to, and I think that's really going to hurt as well to cover both of these tight ends. But Gronk's the one that you really got to look out for. I mean, he is the kryptonite of Pittsburgh, if you ask me, because they're not great against tight ends in the first place.
Believe it.
And Gronk's the best, obviously. But he's also hard to tackle, and the Steelers have trouble tackling. So
it's a perfect
tough.
storm of madness for our defense. It's tough.
And plus, they have Dion Lewis, who's good out of the passing game as well.
Yeah, I don't think LeGarrette Blount will do a whole lot. I think McCullers and Hargrave will do good up the middle for the Steelers, stuff in the run. So I don't see the run game being an issue for the Steelers defense this year. They were good against it last year. I think they'll be good again. But the Patriots will just completely give up on the run and throw the ball 55 times. And our defensive backs aren't good to begin with, or not great, I should say. So then they get gassed. And we got a lot of youth with Sean Davis, Artie Burns. I mean, Golson may not even play for the whole year now because of his foot. You got Ross Cockrell possibly starting as your opposite Willie Gay. I mean, that's a scary matchup with Brady. And like you said, Gronk just tears people up. The tight end kills the Steelers. This will be a really, really good game. And I think it's going to be the best game of the week that week. But it's going to be a tough matchup. That Pittsburgh, I don't want to say they have to win or whatever, but if you want to solidify your spot in the playoffs and you want to get out of this wild card game and try to get a bye week. We haven't had a bye week in a while, it feels like, in the playoffs. One of the biggest things you got to do is knock off New England, because they have historically, other than Pittsburgh, they've been that one team in the AFC that's just a little bit better than the Steelers over the last 10, 15 years.
Well, since Big Ben was drafted, 4 quarterbacks have represented the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Brady, Ben, Manning, and Flacco.
There it is. That's it. And I mean, one of them's retired. Peyton Manning retires. Joe Flacco, we know, isn't for real. So that leaves 2. And Tom Brady's 39 years old. So once he's gone, I mean, the last one will be Big Ben unless somebody else does it this season.
Believe it. And Big Ben, I think the media makes too much out of his age. I know that he played a physical style of football, but he's really changed the way he plays the game. The injuries weren't because he was holding onto the ball too long last year. Burfict straight up kneed him in the back of the shoulder on purpose.
I remember that.
We watched it. I mean, it's not this Ben Roethlisberger of old who's scrambling around trying to make plays. So I think that he could just be like Brady, play at 39, 40 years old and still be effective. I know his knees will probably start to give out a little sooner because he's bigger, he's heavier, he played that physical
taking
style.
A lot more hits.
Yeah, but if he continues to not take those hits, then I think that he could be
the offensive line, really.
Right, which should be one of the best in football. I mean, let's face it, we got a really good unit out there.
Gotta stay healthy.
Pouncey's number 1 pick. DeCastro's a number 1 pick. Gilbert was a number 2 pick. And Foster has played really well at left guard. And then you have the question mark, maybe Villanueva or Harris there on the blind side, which is the
It's nice to have 2 of them, though.
Yeah.
But one guy we didn't mention in this receiving core for New England is your boy, man.
Brother.
Please believe it. Chris Hogan. They're saying he's going to start in a slot. And we know, we've seen
Brady
what Tom
turns
Brady
white
does.
boys into good receivers, man.
I'm telling you, man.
You got Danny
I'm drafting him
Amendola,
in
you got
fantasy.
Wes Welker, you got Julian Edelman. If you're white and you play receiver, you go to New England because Brady will just get the ball to you
If
all
you're under
day.
6 foot.
Oh, yeah, you got to be garbage before you go there. That's the other
Well, Wes
part.
Welker was pretty good, actually. He was a good
Well,
returner.
I mean, he was all right. Yeah, he didn't have a big season yet, though,
No.
you know. He was
Well,
a
he
restricted
played in
free
Miami
agent.
with
yeah.
who? Chad Pennington, maybe? Or not
Oh,
Chad
probably,
Pennington.
yeah.
No, it
I
wasn't.
mean, it might have been.
Did he play in Miami? I thought he was a Jet. He did go to Miami.
Yeah, he did go to Miami late. I mean, they had garbage quarterbacks down there before Tannehill.
Right.
Obviously not Marino. Is New England's defense good enough to stop Pittsburgh's offense?
I mean, well, they somewhat stopped them last season, but I mean, New England's defense was good last season. I mean, they were the second best in the division in points allowed at 315, and the New York Jets had 314, so they weren't bad at all. 315 points over the course of a season is pretty good, and when your offense scored 465 points, that's a huge point differential right there. But yeah, I mean, New England's defense is sneaky, man. No one ever really considers them one of the better defenses, but by the time the season starts to end, they always end up as one of the better defenses.
Will Le'Veon Bell be able to expose the defense? Because New England is good. Everything you said there was exactly true. But they do it with a rotation of players generally. They never have that superstar. I know they had Revis a little bit or whatever. But they don't always have that superstar defensive player. So you can get to them when they have some of the younger guys, in on their turn, on their rotation, on their drive. I mean, if you can put 4 or 5 scoring drives together and then your defense can hold it together, like you could win this football game. Those are all big ifs.
Those are huge ifs right there.
Now, the Steelers have played a little better against New England at Pittsburgh than they have at New England. Not
I remember
that they've
one
played
time
great.
they went up 14-0 in like 30 seconds.
Was that the Halloween game?
Maybe, man. I can't remember. There was a pick 6 like right at the beginning of the game Brady threw. That's what we need.
Yeah. We need the defense to step up. And as much as the offense is going to win us football games all year long, I think the defense needs to win us this football game.
It's going to be tough. You got to put all your focus on these tight ends, man.
Just blow his knee out.
But yeah, I think both offensively, I think both Le'Veon and Antonio are going to be on top of their game, so it opens up a little bit more, and both of them are useful.
Now, would you just try to straight up outscore Brady, or would you try to keep the offense a little more methodical to keep Brady off the field?
I say go out there and score because, I mean, we've seen the Pittsburgh Steelers over the years when they decide, okay, let's try to hold on to the ball a little bit. That's the worst thing for them because it doesn't work out. So just go out there and try to score points and just put it on your defense, like you said, and see if they can come up with a couple stops or a couple big plays.
If I'm Pittsburgh, like I said, I'm not even really rushing Brady that much. I'm probably going to have a 3-4 man rush most of the game, especially if you're getting any pressure at all. Just keep it going. Try to get him straight up the middle. He doesn't move around outside of the pocket very often. He's a guy who moves very well in the pocket. But if you come right up into its face, that's really the best way to stop him. If you stop that timing with his wide receivers, you're not going to stop the timing with Gronk because he's just physically going to dominate the defender at the line. It's too hard to jam that guy. But it's like we used to do with A.J. Green. We almost would let A.J. Green for the Bengals get a huge game against us, but then shut everybody else down. So then Cincinnati couldn't really do anything. Can the Steelers win by letting Gronk get his catches and get his yards, but then shutting the rest of the offense down?
See, I don't think it works like that with the New England Patriots. I think you have to. I mean, we've seen it last year. They didn't shut Gronk down, and it was just horrible looking. Of course, they didn't even cover him one play.
Yeah.
I mean, at least go out there and cover him, and it should be a little bit easier for you. But I think Brady to Gronk can win games.
With all the madness, they only ended up scoring, 28 points against us in that game, though?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Not a lot for the fact that the Steelers blew it on like 3 consecutive series. I'm not going to write off this game. They're going to lose either Miami or New England game.
Or both.
I mean, they might. I want to say they're not going to lose both. They're going to lose some football games this year, especially if Ladarius Green can't play, because then they're just really losing a lot of weapons. But I think Ladarius Green, if he plays in this football game, can be Gronk-like and have an impact that could really negatively affect New England's defense. I think Green can test the seam straight up the middle, and then New England won't be able to jam our receivers so hard at the line. They won't be able to get to Roethlisberger the way they usually can. I'm going to go ahead and say Pittsburgh can win this game in a very close, probably a field goal wins it, or maybe even the defense has a goal line stand or something to win this football game. You said it last year at the beginning. Brady's going to fall off or at least step back one of these seasons.
It's got to be soon.
39 years old. He's not going to have played many games between last season and this game that the Steelers are playing. He could be rusty. I really think Pittsburgh has a better chance than they usually do against the Patriots.
Well, I think Pittsburgh got to have all their questions figured out by this time at wide receiver and in the defensive backfield if they want to have a chance in this game. If they're still trying to figure things out, is Sammy Coates or is it Marcus Wheaton? Is Darius Hayward-Bay supposed to be in there? Like, they need to figure that out. And who is their starting defensive backfield going to be at that point? I mean, they got to have it figured out, or else Brady isn't going to torch them.
Those young guys back there do scare me against Brady. But that's all I got. Anything else for the fans, Dash?
No, maybe Brady will get a second suspension somehow.
Maybe. Well, did you hear he cut his thumb with a pair of scissors trying to clean out his shoes or something like an idiot? He was supposed to play in the last preseason game, and right before kickoff, he jammed a pair of scissors into his thumb, and Garoppolo had to end up playing.
See, I get those kid scissors, the rounded ones, when I clean my shoes.
See, you're smarter than Brady is. But he's got a hotter wife. Fans, if you got a hot wife, send us a picture. Hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube. Keep clicking subscribe. Here we go, Steelers. If we went 1-16 or 1-15, as long as we beat New England, I'd still feel that was a good season.
Yeah, Dad.